the creators that I were watching, they would, that's all wrong.
We're talking about the things we wish we knew back when we started. Brian's going to be breaking down 10 lessons.
For people that double down on only shooting micro content and not having the long form live in perpetuity, it's just a poor use of money, in my opinion. People have to understand you're not going to be liked by everybody. Yeah. So if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Strong.
Just find your tribe and talk to your people.
Like, you're a great communicator now, you're polished now. What went into that?
Two things.
Welcome back to the Think Media Podcast. I am so fired up for this episode because we're talking about the things we wish we knew back when we started. So if you're starting a new YouTube channel, if you're especially approaching YouTube of how do I grow a business? How do I grow my personal brand? How do I get lead sales and even create multiple streams of income and avoid painful mistakes? Then this episode is for you. Brian's going to be breaking down 10 lessons, and then we're going to be learning all about his story. But Brian Adamson, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me, man.
My guy, tell me about your track record, over 100 fix and flips, real estate stuff, what you were doing professionally, and then how you took that online and started building up your personal brand and content.
Yeah, so I started out, I went to college for industrial engineering, right? While I was at college, I learned about real estate. Didn't know anything about what I was doing. I was leveraging my refund checks to cover the down payment for people that my buddy was flipping houses to.
Wow.
So literally, I started out as like a de facto private lender. And then from there, I went out when the market contracted. I bought over 20 doors when I was 24, 25 years old. And then finally, when I got mentorship after I made a ton of mistakes, lost a lot of money. And at that point, I learned how to really build a business. So I learned active income strategies, how to raise capital, all of that. Did that for 6 or 7 years, and then started buying commercial multifamily. So now I own over 100 units, buy small apartment buildings. But more importantly, through all my trial and error, I was able to, about 6 years ago, start helping people all over the world because we invest remotely. And so we teach them how to build 6- and 7-figure businesses in 12 months. And so we got students in Denmark, Japan, Afghanistan, all throughout the States. And but yeah, going back to work, which I don't like to talk about. So I got my degree in industrial engineering, and then I got hired by a plastics company to run their injection molding department. So I did that in corporate America for about 10 years, and then I quit at 35.
And here you are. And so social media wise, what's your schedule right now? And what platforms are you focusing on?
It's interesting. I doubled down on Instagram when I first got on social media, right? And we grew the page really good. And then a couple of years ago, it got hacked and it all went away. And so, finally making the right investments, getting in the right rooms, I learned how important YouTube was, and that less susceptible to have that happen. And more importantly, that content lives in perpetuity. And once people go down the rabbit hole, it's a better use. So we were literally spending thousands of dollars a month to shoot micro content and never did anything with the long form. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy when I think about it now, and painful to talk about, because it was literally just wasting money while shooting content instead of taking the long form and then cutting it into the short form. But Instagram, in fairness, we made millions of dollars through selling our products and services through it. And so I didn't really think I needed another platform, quite honestly, until I lost the one that I had doubled down on.
And so how'd you lose the platform?
Somebody hacked my page.
Okay.
I still can't fully articulate what happened, but I started a brand new page from zero.
Wow. So you lost it. Not only you lost it because it got hacked, but you also lost it because the content doesn't have the same shelf life and longevity of YouTube. So when looking back, if you're going to invest thousands of dollars in creating content, if you're outsourcing and getting help, man, if you could put that on YouTube, is that why you're doubling down on YouTube right now? Because you see the longevity of YouTube?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. Well, okay. You drop 10 tips. We're going to go through these, and then you can expound lessons that will help everybody listening. Even if they're advanced in their career, there's going to be nuggets. But number one is YouTube is the best way to maximize content creation expense. You kind of touched on this, but why do you feel that way?
Yeah. For people that double down on only shooting micro content and not having the long form live in perpetuity, it's just a poor use of money, in my opinion. You're paying the AV guys and the studio time to shoot it anyway. So why not shoot the long form and then cut out of it what you want to use for short form, as opposed to just neglect the long form altogether, right? Because I look at YouTube, it's consumed differently. On Instagram, people are not going to go back and watch your last 10 videos. On YouTube, however, if you got something good to say and you say it well and it's feeding the people, they'll go down a rabbit hole and consume hours and hours of your content, which, as we know, I think people need to consume either 10 hours of your content or see you in 7 to 11 different places before they buy from you. And YouTube is the platform that allows them to do that.
Yeah, because people binge content there. And, so it hits everybody. For a lot of the business owners, entrepreneurs, YouTube is the best way to maximize the content creation expense if you're going to rent a studio, if you're going to hire somebody. But I also think time is the other thing that people are investing. Maybe they're just starting and you could spend time on Instagram or spend time on Facebook, but time invested in YouTube and quality content has a better ROI as well because of videos ranking. It's a content library. So, man, I'm in love with that tip. Tip 2, though, is growing a channel is easier than you think, yet harder than you think. What do you mean?
Here comes the pain.
Okay.
Right. So for me, then I was talking to Brandon about this off camera. Like, I'm not camera shy. So getting in front of the camera and shooting the content is no problem. So that part of it is easy, which is typically the barrier for most people, especially when they're getting started. The hard part, though, is getting those videos to get the reach that you need them to in order to actually capitalize on shooting it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by it's the easiest thing to do, but yet the hardest at the same time.
Strong. Number 3, long form on YouTube is far more valuable to your brand than short form.
100%. I look at short clips as the appetizer, but YouTube is the full entree, right? And maybe the appetizer is what gets them in the door, but eventually they're going to want to eat a meal, and you could serve them meal after meal after meal after meal with YouTube.
Yes. And from an ROI, what the algorithm recommends, watch time, minutes matter most. And in a business like yours, YouTube ad revenue is not your main play.
Right.
It's just a little bit extra once monetized, but long form pays the best.
For sure.
And at scale, in fact, our mutual friend and someone we love learning from, Myron Golden, he's talking about his RPMs being $30, $40, $50, tens of thousands of dollars of income a month. That's also not his main business.
Right.
But why? Long form, high value, high effort, rich content. And in industries like business education, finance, real estate, the CPMs and the RPMs can be crazy high. So you talk about actual value. I think it was the CMO of HubSpot that said YouTube subscribers are the most valuable subscribers on the internet. But I would argue not YouTube's short subscribers. We've measured this. It's a different, like they might click subscribe, but they don't really know you. They don't connect with you deep. But long form is where that connection is.
For sure.
Number 4, there's no better platform to take your potential client through an immersion for conversion. Break it down.
Yeah, I think especially for those that may be in the education space or sell some type of product or service, especially if it's high ticket, there's no better place to send your potential client for a deeper immersion to really understand, be indoctrinated with your ideologies and your methodologies so that they can feel more comfortable about knowing what they're buying, right? I think it qualifies you more as an educator. And it also, it pulls the mask off for many people, right? That I think people get to experience you on a more intimate level, which raises their awareness and raises their comfortability of wanting to be in your ecosystem.
Yeah, YouTube's a trust accelerator.
100%.
And if the higher the price, the more trust needed. So the more time that someone is connecting with you, I like the way you put that, immersion for conversion, which brings us to number 5. Don't treat YouTube as a place to dump content. Rather, treat it as a place to curate your best content.
Yeah, for sure. And you really harp on that in the book. I felt convicted because when we first started dumping videos on YouTube a couple years ago, we just kind of was like, I don't know what to do with this waste that we had from our shoot today. Let's just put it on YouTube. So I'm a real estate guy, so it'd be property walkthroughs and things like that that just didn't have the intentionality behind curating the best video, more so just a camera follow me around in the field. And while there was still some value to it, it wasn't intentionality behind it. And we just kind of just put it on the YouTube shelf, right? The more educated that I now become, that wasn't so wise, right? And not the best use of how to really store things on the platform.
That's pretty strong. It's like there's people that say document, don't create. Be the content, which is what you're doing right now too, because you're also got behind the scenes, you got the DJI mic on. And it's not either or. That's amazing. If you are a professional, if you could hire a videographer that could follow you along and you just... Brad Lee says it that way. He says, just be the content. I'm just being it all day. So he does staff meetings and all that kind of stuff. Amazing. That's a great point. But I do think exactly what you're saying. Sometimes that also could be overrated. There's something to be said about sitting down and curating, crafting incredible videos. I look at some of the biggest entrepreneurs that are blowing up: Alex Hormozy, Layla, Cody Sanchez. I'm trying to think about someone just released $1 Million Habits, Noah Kagan. Look at their videos. These are big million viewed subscribed channels, million viewed videos. These are curated videos.
For sure.
Crafted videos, planned high quality videos. And so the idea of just only doing live streaming or just only doing off the cuff or whatever, I think, again, gets maybe overrated as if that's going to be the one vehicle that takes you all the way to the top. I think what's so powerful about that, it's a good way to start, but that mindset of crafting some of your best content is a powerful tip. Number 6, I wish I would have known about monetization sooner. What do you mean?
I literally, until about a year ago, didn't know about monetization. And it's funny that now that I think about it, right? Because everybody almost that I know now already monetized on YouTube. So I have no idea how I didn't understand it before. But it's like it's being rewarded for doing something that you were doing anyway. Right. And so to your point, while it's not the primary focus of any of my businesses, it is a great ancillary piece to have. Right? And for many people, it has become their primary focus. And so I just think that's amazing. Whereas, and I know there's different incentives on different platforms, but I've seen nothing that partners and really rewards their creators like the YouTube space does.
Are you struggling to find qualified real estate leads? Learn how to transform your business with the power of YouTube on my free on-demand class at realtubeclass.com. You'll learn 4 surefire video strategies to attract new prospects, build client relationships effortlessly, and discover why YouTube will give you an edge in this challenging market. To watch the free class, just go to realtubeclass.com or click the link in the show notes. Number 7, that quality and consistency is far greater than quantity.
Yeah, I got that out your book, Out of YouTube Secrets. Right?
Nice.
But I practice it, though, at the same time, in the sense that, first of all, to the new creator, I say, go create.
Yeah.
Right? If you could do a video a day, do it. And we've seen this, right? I think a lot of the time we mistaken that social media managers can manage YouTube the same way in which they manage the other platforms. And in my experience, it just hasn't been the case, right? You almost need, if you're not going to be the one, you need a YouTube specific expert manager to only manage that aspect of it, because what happens is they're inconsistent, right? And one thing that I have figured out from your book and own experience is YouTube really rewards you from being consistent. So if it's going to be 3 times a week, like we try to put our videos out at 11 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We do shorts 11 a.m. Monday through Saturday, right? And that's our cadence that we have. But when I get a bad social media manager, they mess up that cadence. And then I see YouTube penalizes me for the next couple of weeks until they can trust that I'll be consistent again in that way.
Yeah.
And so that's what I meant by the quality over quantity. You start out with quantity, but then start focusing on quality and being consistent with your cadence.
Yeah, we just talked about it. Just did a video about the 3 seasons. Season 1 really is quantity because you're figuring out your voice. It's much more about practice, and that volume helps you learn and get audience feedback. Season 2 then is almost like slow down, improve the product, quality. And then season 3, if you make it there, is both, because you got team, systems, your skills that you can actually sustain volume of high quality.
For sure.
And so great tips. Number 8, don't wing it, but also make it feel organic. Ooh, it's a good way to put it. Break it down.
Yeah, I've been gifted to kind of put words and create pictures for people as I speak, but the gift has to align with skill. And again, and I know I keep harping on it, but it's another thing that I got out of your book, which I really love, because just being more intentional behind that aspect totally changes the game, and it's like have an outline, I like to call it, use the outline as a handrail, not a handcuff, right? Be willing to be fully present and let him communicate through you, right? Because that's the way I look at it when I shoot content. I'm not creating this for me, I'm creating it for them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be used as a vessel to allow him to convey the message that's necessary. But yeah, have an outline so that there is some structure to the hook, to the big idea, and all those things that we should focus on.
Yeah, that's definitely a skill to learn. authenticity is trending in 2023. The most searched word on Merriam-Webster was authenticity.
Wow.
What that can make people think is like, if I'm not just being authentic, just means no prep, off the cuff, I'm going to be real. But if it's unstructured and it's off the cuff and you're going to be so real, it also might not be that valuable. But then being overly polished can have a disconnect. So how have you learned? How long did it take to find your voice?
Can I go back to that real quick? Because you said something from stage about not the quality in terms of production of the content, but the quality of the messaging in the content. And I wanted to highlight that because the people that seem to be all over the place, it's toxicity. And their channels build and grow for all the wrong reasons, right? So I think for us that's trying to create something of quality that people can truly benefit from, we do have to take that extra step to make sure that we're curating something that's worth sharing for sure.
And how did you find, like, you're a great communicator now, you're polished now. What went into that? And what's like your first video compared to like your now videos?
Two things, reps and getting skill, like investing in getting the right rooms, refining and honing in on my skill, my communication. One thing that really blessed me was last year we did like, I think 40 master classes, right? So I was constantly working my chops weekly while still curating content every single week as well. And so the biggest issue that I have now though.
You taught 40 master classes.
Yeah.
And the repetition of teaching 40 master classes, I've done similar things. You probably got the stories you tell in them, the tips you tell. That becomes like muscle memory after doing it 40
it's
times.
Unbelievable. And then you go stand out in front of a crowd. You don't even realize how good that you've gotten over that time.
Wow.
You know, and so you can't get away from, you know, honing in on skill, and you can't get away from the reps. Like you just got to do it bad until you get good at it. But you're only going to get good by getting some skill. You're not just going to get good just because you could get good at the wrong thing.
Yep.
So the quality doesn't improve if you don't have any other insights to help you improve that.
Strong. Okay. We've got 2 more tips. We're talking about 10 tips. If I knew then, what I know now. These are some things I could apply. By the way, the book that he's mentioning is YouTube Secrets. So if you haven't checked that out, the second edition's out now. And you listen to the audiobook.
I did.
Yeah. So it's on Audible as well as Amazon. That'll be linked up. And check out show notes. And then we will get a full roll call of Brian's stuff at the end. But also, as usual, you can count on us to have really well organized show notes of resources and things like that. Let's hit these final 2 points and then figure out how we can connect with you and follow you and what you're up to. But number 9, hooks are extremely important.
Oh my God.
What have you learned about hooks?
The first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? When you don't know what to do, and this is what I mean by getting good at the wrong things. The creators that I were watching, they would introduce themselves first in the video and welcome everybody in. So that's how I started making my first videos, right? And then the more that I've gotten in the right rooms, going to Vid Summit, reading your book, that I'm like, that's all wrong. You need to grab their attention and let them know what's in it for me.
Yep.
Right? They want to know who you are later. Right now, they don't care enough to know who you are. So why introduce yourself? And so, yeah, hooks are everything. If you don't stop them in their tracks, they're scrolling to something else until that does grab their attention.
I want to highlight that tip. Start the video with a question, start the video with a stat, start the video with something powerful. Don't start the video. All right, guys, welcome back. Sean Cannell here. Think Media, best tips and tools for building. Because all of that info is not value in and of itself. You're just introducing yourself and it's not grabbing attention. What can you do in the opening seconds to grab attention? And it's an art form that continues to evolve. You want to continue to work on it.
For sure.
Okay, number 10. There are certain things that are principles that work for everyone. And there are a lot of things that are subjective to the channel or the creator. It's rich. What do you mean?
It's good. It's good. It's certain things fundamentally that you have to do on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Like being consistent and being predictable as to when you're going to put out your content, all those things. Then there's other things that work specifically for a niche or a creator that if you emulate that, you won't get the same result. And so I think it's really important that for people to be able to distill what are actual principles, focus on those, right? Which you list a lot of them in the book, like focus on those principles. And then you could iterate and bring in nuance by watching other people's channel, but understand that those are just tests. These things are fundamentally sound that have to happen. The rest of it, you may not replicate their success just because you shoot something the way that they did it.
That's really strong. Yeah. Michael Jordan, one of my favorite quotes from him is master the fundamentals and everything else you do will rise. So what are the principles and the fundamentals that are true across YouTube? You need to know them, you need to master them, even keep working on them, because when you master the fundamentals, everything else you do will rise. But then, and that's definitely a conversation for a future time, what is your unique genius, your unique ability, your unique difference, some of the subjective things of you being more of you and not being an echo of somebody else? What are some of the things that no one else is doing? That you're bringing your fresh, unique, and with this whole authenticity trend, it's not a tactic. I think what most of all, when I think about people being authentic, is people just truly being themselves, being self-aware, tapping into who they are, and then packaging that intentionally with the fundamentals in place. And then that becomes really a power combo. That's a very powerful tip.
For sure. I think one of the biggest things too, Sean, is that people have to understand you're not going to be liked by everybody.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Strong.
Just find your tribe and talk to your people.
Yeah. So good. So if people want to connect with you, follow you, what are some of the resources, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, Brian Adamson Official on YouTube, obviously, Brian Adamson Official on all other platforms. And then, man, I'm so excited. I'm coming out with a community called Believers in Business.
Cool.
Where we're going to focus on faith, fitness, finance, and freedom. 4 pillars, right? Because I figured out just having money isn't it. I've been rich and miserable. And so I'm really excited about that. So if they follow me on those channels, then they'll become a part of the ecosystem and learn when that's coming forward.
What's one of your favorite Bible verses or favorite Bible business principles?
It's a lot of them. I would say that selling is not only a good idea, but it's a God idea. In Proverbs, it talks about those who hoard the grain are cursed, but those who sell it are blessed. Right. So selling is a great thing, and we need to be entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial spirited and use our gifts, monetize our messages, and go out in the marketplace and help people and make money.
That's powerful. And that proverb's probably referencing Joseph in Egypt, who stored up grain in famine. What a principle. So that once famine came, their people could survive, but not to just give it away, but to sell it.
That's right.
So even we have all these money mindsets against sales or against like the value we could package in this idea. Of course, you should give great free YouTube content, but having offers, having programs, that's a God idea.
100%.
A way to serve people at a deeper level, not hoarding your knowledge or your grain or the highest level, but being able to serve people. That one fired me up. That's a good one.
That's good.
I appreciate you. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Think Media podcast. And this is a great episode. Hey, like, rate, review, share wherever you listen or watch, and subscribe, because of course we're bringing you fire content with 2 main uploads every single week. The Coffee with Cannell show happens live on the YouTube channel only. So if you've never visited that or seen the archives in the live streams over there, my name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and we will talk soon.